Usually in this channel I talk about investing, personal finance and starting businesses. But today I want to focus more about the mindset because I truly believe that this is the main driver of having success in any area of your life. So with this, let me share with you 10 steps of becoming the best version of yourself. And you can see I'm focusing on yourself, not competing with other people, because that way you will always lose, because there's always somebody better, smarter, better looking, richer. You will always lose that battle. But focus on yourself and become better every single day. To start things off, I just want to show you why it is important to get started now, because look at this graph over here. That's the average 90-year human life in months. So each single dot here symbolizes a month. You can see for yourself where you are over here. I'm guessing I'm somewhere around over here. So yeah, life is really ticking away. So if you don't do anything about it and don't take action now, eventually you're gonna reach a point over here where you're at the end of the life and you might have regret. And I think having regret is one of the worst things you wanna have in life. Having failures is part of life, but having regret at the end of your life, I think that's one of the worst things. And for me, actual motivation to do things that I normally wouldn't feel comfortable with, just to not have the regret. So I think that's really a powerful symbolization that time is ticking for all of us. So we need to take actions and matters in our own hands. Then of course the question is, how do you define success? And for most people, they see only the accomplishments, right? They see the trophies, they see the medals, they see the certificates and awards, and that's all nice and great and probably what motivates a lot of us in the first place. But what we actually don't see is what goes into it, right? An Olympic gold medal winner, we don't see the amount of time they're spending in the pool, practicing, running, etc. For that time. They have so many sacrifices, they do so many things, so many good habits, sacrificing nights out with friends, and we don't see these things. While successful millionaires, we just see the outcome, we don't see the results, the hard work, the grind, the hustle that went into it. So I think it's also very important to understand where they're coming from and study the people rather than just judging them that they got lucky or be envious of them, but understand the habits and try to emulate them to get yourself into a better position of capitalizing on that luck, so to say, because the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I think that's very much true. And ultimately, anything is possible for anyone. I mean, just look at this. Do you know what it is? That's actually an acorn. It has a size like this, super tiny, but over time, and the focus is on time and the right environment, meaning water, air, and soil, it will turn into something majestical, such as the oak tree, right? I mean, this comes out of the acorn and it's just unbelievable. And for me, it just symbolizes how any human being, when we're born, we're babies, we're innocent, can turn into a billionaire, an entrepreneur, an influencer, what have you. The sky is really the limit and anything is possible. But I think often we're so afraid of what we can turn into that we don't even try in the first place. And that's why my first and most important point, having the right mindset is absolutely key. Just look at this gentleman, Sir Richard Branson, arguably one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. He started from very humble beginnings. He wasn't born into a wealthy family. In school, they even said he was not a smart kid at all. And look how he turned out. And that all comes back to the mindset. Nobody forced him to be successful. He himself made a conscious decision that he is capable of so much more, and he went after it. He had a goal, he had a vision, and he just executed against it. If you read his book or biography, he saw how many failures he had, but he never gave up. He believed in himself. Nobody else forced him to be that rich, right? Now people are jealous, now people envy him, but he was the one driving it. He was the one believing in himself. And I think that's super, super important. And you will see for yourself, the more success you will have, the more naysayers you will have, the more people will doubt you and say, don't do this. But you need to ultimately really believe in yourself, have the right mindset, and then execute on that mindset, obviously. But it starts by having positive self-beliefs. If you doubt yourself, most likely you will fail. So it's super, super important to start believing in yourself, have a clear vision, and then execute against it. Second point, I call the Healthset. Now it's important to have a great mindset, but if you only have a strong mind, but actually a weak body that hinders you from progress, you will not be able to execute. Imagine when you're feeling sick, you're not exactly in the mood of starting a new business or executing on some great new ideas or filming a great new video, right? You feel miserable, you just want to be under the blanket on your couch. So you want to have good energy, good health. For myself, that's actually the number one value in my life, because if I'm not healthy, I'm of no use to anybody. And just look at those people. All of them are over 60 years old. One of them actually over here, Mr. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, I believe is over 85 years old. And still he wakes up every single day, early morning, goes to office, looks sharp and enjoys life because he's healthy. How many people you know in their 60s who have so many problems and issues and they just can't function properly anymore? So I think it's super, super important to take care of your health, because health really matters. Too many people spend the first half of their life accumulating wealth, but in the process actually sacrificing the health And the second part of their life, spending the wealth to regain some of the health. So you don't want to be the richest person in the graveyard. You want to live life along the way. So it's super, super important. Be very, very conscious and take care of your health. Point number 3, stay curious and keep learning. Any one of you remembers maybe some of these companies, Nokia, Kodak. Some of you younger viewers might not even remember those companies. At the time, they used to be behemoth companies really running their respective industries. But what happened? They did not innovate. And that's the problem a lot of companies have, but also individuals. Some of the people who got to success, they rest on their laurels and they don't keep on innovating because they say, I already know that. And that's the beginning of the end, because everything in life moves on, everything evolves. And if you don't keep learning, you will fall behind one way or the other. You may not like AI, you may not like social media, but the reality is that it is happening. So if you don't go with the times and update your own operating system, your brain, your mindset, you will fall behind sooner or later. So that's super, super important. Keep on learning, keep on asking questions, be curious. Number 4 is having goals in life. For example, if I ask you to drive from Paris to London, what would you do? Well, I guess most likely all of us gonna get out our phone, turn on Google Maps, put the destination, and then simply follow the directions we're being told, right? Makes sense and super easy. But in our own lives, we often fail to have a clear destination where we're going to. By having a goal, we can then decide a clear path, because otherwise we're just floating around. And as the saying goes, only dead fish go with the flow, right? So you want to be really conscious of where your destination is, and that way you can find the fastest way to get there. Not just move around, try one job one month, another job another month, because you're gonna get sidetracked and pulled in all different directions and may not actually progress in your own life. So be very conscious, have a goal, and it doesn't mean the goal can't change. I used to want to become a policeman, then a pilot, so it changed so many times, and it probably will continue to change as my life evolves, and that's totally fine. But what is important, to have a goal and then put actions in place to get you on that trajectory on the fastest possible way. Next up is adding value. Now, obviously all the previous points are very important, but ultimately, if you do minimum work, you're not gonna get very far in life. Now, this is true for your own career, or if you build your own business, you have to go above and beyond. A lot of people just do whatever is, for example, in the job description. And that's totally fine, right? You get paid for it, you do your job, that's all. But don't expect miracles. If you really progress and want to grow and excel, go above and beyond. Do more than what is expected of you. Too many people say, well, I'm only paid for that, that's what they get. Well, that's the wrong attitude. If you give more, people over time will notice. Maybe not your direct boss or your first client, but the longer you do this, eventually people will notice that, and they will give you more opportunities. They will see your potential and they lift you up, they give you a promotion, or they refer other clients to you because they see how great you are. And this is super, super powerful. Having a great mindset and the vision and the goal is all good, but you need to execute it and really give 120% and more. It doesn't mean you have to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I said before, Healthset is super important. So you need to look after yourself, but you have to put in the work, that's for sure. Working 3 hours a day probably is not gonna get you very far, and other people may take some of your share away or some of your limelight, or they will be next up for a promotion that you're looking for. So put in the work, be smart, stand out, make yourself seen, and over time, good things will happen. Another important point is to chase growth, not money. Money is a result and outcome of providing consistently added value. People will pay you, that will come over time. But seeking to get better, to grow as an individual, to grow as a company, to grow your skill sets, that is the focus. The rest is an outcome. Don't chase the money. Too many people are focused on only the money. Money won't buy happiness. Now, I get it. I also rather cry in my Ferrari than in a tent. But if you're sad or have problems, it doesn't matter how rich you are. And there's an important thing called the fulfillment curve. Obviously, as human beings, we need a minimum amount of money to buy certain things in life, right? You want to have a house, you want to have a place to stay, you want to have enough food, etc. And there's certain luxuries, and obviously the higher you get, the different level of definitions of luxuries. And that's all clear. But there's also a point of when you spend too much money, your incremental satisfaction from there and fulfillment actually starts going down. Because once you have 3 Ferraris, the 4th Ferrari doesn't really add so much more value than when you bought your very first Ferrari. When I used to live in Dubai, I knew a guy, we met up one day in the bar and he was very upset. And I said, why are you upset? I mean, the guy was living in the villa, he actually had a Ferrari, and he was telling me about his girlfriend who was very upset because her boyfriend bought her a Lamborghini for herself. And he just couldn't do that because he just bought a Ferrari. So she was very upset about it, and obviously he got upset that he can't do that for her. And I was sitting there, I said, oh my God, like that's crazy. I mean, I wish to have a house like this and a Ferrari. For me, I was looking up to him, and here he was being all upset about money, right? So it just shows, as I said in the beginning, there's always going to be somebody richer, always somebody with more money. So if money is your only measure of happiness, you're going to be miserable in life because you're never going to be the one. I mean, look at Elon Musk. He used to be the richest man in the world. Now he's only the second richest. If Tesla continues to drop, he might be only the 10th richest. So should he be all depressed about this now? I guess not. So really focus on your fulfillment. Obviously, we all have a goal of increasing our earnings, but what I'm saying is don't spend it all on consumption items. Invest it, give it to charity, help people, invest it into experiences, into travel, etc. Not just purely materialistic things, and chase growth and progress rather than money itself. The next point is about embracing discomfort. Now, funnily in life, all of us want more comfort, right? We're using technology to make our lives easier, to do less physical work, to make things more seamless, and that's all amazing. But at the same time, when you're too comfortable, you're not really progressing. To give you an example, after studying so many successful people, I realized the majority of them actually wake up super early. Some of them even 3:30 in the morning, which is really a little bit too extreme for my liking. But myself, I used to be a night owl, but then I would sleep in the mornings. I would come all sleepy and so on to work, and I really wouldn't perform at my best. So I forced myself to start waking up at 6 a.m. And now I do this every single morning, at least Monday to Friday, and then hit the gym and then have a cold shower. Now that's really not comfortable in the morning, but after having done this, I feel amazing. I know I've done already something for my health, which is my most important thing. So that's why I should do this in the morning, because that's my priority. I get it out of the way. And after overcoming this discomfort, everything else seems so easy for me, right? And that's why I always say, get out of your comfort zone, do things that are uncomfortable, and over time you feel much more comfortable. Just imagine the first time you were driving in your car, we were probably shaking and looking over your shoulder, etc. Now that you've done this so many times, you feel super comfortable. Most likely you're gonna be sipping your coffee, listening to podcasts, just cruising around, and that's because you're more comfortable. But in order to get there, you had to get out of your comfort zone. You could have also sat at home and say, oh, I'm too scared of driving, I'm never gonna do this, right? But then you would have never had the experience and the opportunity to give it a go. And that's why don't close yourself to new opportunities, try new things, get uncomfortable, and over time you're gonna get stronger. And I think lobsters are a great example of that, because you probably never ask yourself how lobsters actually grow, because when you look at them, it's a hard shell, right? And a hard shell doesn't really grow or expand, and lobsters can get massive, right? But when they're born, they're tiny little creatures. Basically, when they're born, the shell is a bit bigger than their body. So, they continue eating, they grow into the shell, and then it becomes uncomfortable, confining. And then what happens? They go under the rock, they cast off the old shell, and they start growing a new, bigger shell over it. Then they come out, they keep on living, keep on eating, keep on growing, until once again the new shell becomes too confining and too small, and they repeat the process many times until they become a huge lobster. And the impetus here is being uncomfortable. If the lobster was a human, they would probably go to the doctor, say, I feel uncomfortable, they would get a tablet, and they would never continue grow. So don't be afraid of adversity. Actually, these days, whenever I have a challenging situation or something is not going to plan, I tell myself, actually, Kai, that's a great opportunity. You're gonna be much stronger and smarter after you've overcame this obstacle. And it's really true. See it positively and it won't be stressed. Be positive about it and turn it into a learning experience. Another big point is embracing delayed gratification. Living in an instant world where everything is just a finger click away. You can order your food, it's there at the doorstep 20 minutes later. You order your groceries, you order anything on Amazon, you have it right away, right? We don't have any patience anymore. But that's exactly the problem, because it feels great in the moment, right? You have the instant gratification, it's amazing, it's great. But long term, you're actually worse off. The same is true with investing, right? So many people, when they see stocks going up, they get excited, they want to get in, they put all their money in, they want to see the growth, a 10x return in 30 days. Otherwise, they get upset, and then things crash, they get upset and lose all their money. On the other hand, a long-term investor is not very exciting, right? You may not see any major gains for first couple of years, but then 10, 20, 30 years down the line, you're gonna be so much better off. And the same is true for our everyday lives and habits. Just imagine two friends who hang out every single day together, and every night they go out. One of them every night orders junk foods, has a couple of beers, and then goes home and watches Netflix 2-3 hours. The other guy goes out with him, but instead orders salads and healthy foods and doesn't drink alcohol, instead has a couple of soft drinks, goes home, watches a few self-improvement videos, reads a book maybe, and then wakes up next morning and then hits the gym. They do it one day, 1 week, 1 month, you see zero difference, right? The one guy might have a little bit more hangover than the other, but other than that, fundamentally nothing really changed. They both still look the same, they're both on the same level, nothing really changed. But the difference comes over time. If, for example, they kept having the same routine for the entirety of their studies, let's say for 4 years, you would start seeing a major difference. One guy would definitely be obese, not in their best shape, and not really doing much with their life, right? Because they've been Netflixing it away. While the other guy most likely will look like myself. Well, at least I'm on my way there. And that's exactly a problem. You see, every beginning of January, when people set their own New Year's resolutions, they hit the gym, they go so hard 2 times a day, they stop eating anything and really do it way too extreme. And then after 3-4 weeks, they see no returns, they get all upset, say that doesn't work, and they fall back to their old habits. But what they forgot to see is the compounding effect. Over time, the same with investing, the same with your health, it takes time. I mean, if you've been eating wrong for the 20 years, how do you think you're gonna get slim in a matter of days? It's just not possible, and we need to understand and recognize it and invest in ourselves, in our finances, in our lives, in our careers in the long term, rather than being too short-term focused. Next up, let's talk about your surroundings, because the saying is, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So hopefully those 5 are not people like that, because most likely if you spend time with people not doing anything in their life, you're gonna be in there, right? You're gonna be talking about just games and gossip and what have you. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you are ambitious in life and want to grow, you need to challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone, as I said before. So be very conscious with whom you're spending time. On the other hand, imagine you're being surrounded by people who build their own businesses and are being very successful. Conversations would be different, right? They would talk about how to get investors' money, how to build a business, how to create a business plan, and that would be their discussions. They wouldn't have time to talk about Netflix shows, etc. They would be very much focused on building businesses, and you would in the process learn new things, learn new terms, understand the language they're speaking, and that would be so much more valuable and powerful for you. Now, of course, you might say, Kai, well, that's all nice, but I don't live in a neighborhood where there are any millionaires or driven people, and that's totally fine. We all have access to the internet with the power of your phone. You just go on YouTube, or I love listening to podcasts, people like Lewis Howes from the School of Greatness, where he interviews some of the most successful people in different industries, and by listening to him interviewing them, I can get nuggets of knowledge from those people, how to get better in health, how to build a business, by hearing it from people who actually did it. And by listening to this consistently, I feel like I'm being surrounded by them, because if I like it, I buy their audiobooks, I buy their real books, and I really try to get as much content and knowledge from them. So it's really in your hands who you're giving your attention and time to. So be very conscious about this. The same with social media, right? We spend so much time glued to our devices, and it's up to you. Are you following the latest gossips, what's happening and dramas online? Or if you want to follow people like Tony Robbins or other people who share with you their insights, knowledge and wisdom to level up your life. And that's why for myself, I'm very conscious about whom I'm following online. I unsubscribed and unfollowed so many people to really make sure when I go online that I get knowledge and positivity that I can use for myself and channel towards my own success. And lastly, being grateful, because obviously we always want more in life. We keep on pushing, we want more, we want to grow, etc. But we sometimes forget the things we already have in our life, how grateful we are to be alive. The fact that we are alive is already a miracle. There's so many things in our lives that we can be grateful for. The fact that you can watch my video right now, it's amazing. Most likely you have some kind of computer or mobile device, you have an internet connection. With that, you can basically start your own business. We often forget these things. So many other people around the world don't have that privilege, and I really think it's super important to sometimes step back and reflect on what we already have. And for myself, I really made it a habit that every morning after I finish gym, I come home, I take a cold shower, and in that cold shower, I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for in my life. And I try to have 3 different things every single day. So this morning, for example, I was grateful for my family, because they obviously raised me, they gave me the values in life, they provided opportunities for me, which I'm truly grateful for. The second thing was traveling. I mean, I was born in Eastern Germany, and my parents at the time couldn't just casually fly over to the US or go to Dubai for a long weekend. It was just not possible. These days, it's simpler than ever. You just go online, you book a ticket, even for the same day, and off you go, right? It's so simple, and we often forget about how nice it is and how many of our previous generations never had that luxury. So it's really, for me, amazing. I truly appreciate still the opportunity to be able to travel freely anywhere around the world, wherever I want to go. And lastly, Wi-Fi. I know, it's almost like a human need. Some people value it more than running water, but just put yourself in the situation. When your Wi-Fi doesn't work, you really feel horrible. You feel like being cut off from humanity. So that's why I think not having it, you really appreciate how valuable it is. And it's so amazing. Just the fact that I could be anywhere around the world and with a click of a button, read any book I want. I remember when I was in school, I always had to go to the library to borrow the books, and they didn't have the books, so they were out already. And then, well, I had a tough time. I just couldn't read the book, right? Today, that's never an issue. So again, it's a small thing, but sometimes really thinking about it and being grateful for it really puts a smile on your face, and you will see it's hard to be angry or upset if you're being grateful. These two things are mutually exclusive and you can't be both at the same time. So if you're being grateful, you're definitely gonna be in a good mood. I wanna leave you with one of my all-time favorite quotes. Success is never owned, it's only rented, and the rent is due every single day. Basically, what it means, it doesn't matter how successful you were in the past is the past. You have to prove yourself every single day and go out there and continue to grow, develop yourself and shine. And that's the only way how you can actually continue to be successful for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that video. A little bit different format today. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Always happy to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.